was 9:04 in the morning, when suddenly a massive explosion happened, and in just 1 second, an entire city disappeared. A flash so bright it could blind your eyes, and then a sound so powerful it was heard 200 kilometers away. This was not a nuclear bomb, and yet, at that time, it was the most powerful human-made explosion in history. Its name was the Halifax Explosion. Imagine, you were standing near the window of your house. Far away, in the sea, you see a burning ship. You want to see what's happening, and then, just 1 second later, the glass of your window doesn't just break. It turns into thousands of sharp shards, flying straight toward your face. This is not a movie scene. This is reality. December 6th, 1917, in Halifax. That day, a ship named Mont Blanc was carrying so much destruction inside it that if it exploded, it could wipe the entire city off the map. And then, it exploded. The next few minutes were not just history. They were some of the darkest and bravest moments in human history. In Halifax, Canada, it was morning, and people had already left their homes for work. Among them was a man named Vincent Coleman. He was a telegraph operator. His job was to send messages between stations to keep everything safe. That morning, he was sitting on his chair beside his telegraph machine. His station was near the harbor. Suddenly, a man came running toward him and shouted, "Run! Get out of here! That ship is about to explode!" As soon as he heard this, he stood up and started running. And then, he stopped. A thought came to his mind. In just a few minutes, a train is going to pass through this route. He turned back, sat down on his chair again, and with his fingers, typed. "Hold up the train. Ammunition ship afire in harbor. Guess this will be my last message. Goodbye, boys." And then, blast. There were 700 people inside that train. They all survived. Vincent Coleman was gone forever. Today, we are talking about the Halifax Explosion, the biggest man-made blast in history before the atomic bomb, and the story of one ordinary man who became a hero without even knowing it. At that time, World War I was going on. Halifax, a small port city in Canada, had become one of the most important harbors of the war. From here, ships carried soldiers, weapons, and war supplies to Europe. Every day, thousands of people moved through this city. Ships constantly entered and left the harbor. The traffic was so heavy that strict rules were in place. But on that day, December 6th, one small mistake was about to change history forever. The first ship was Mont Blanc, a French cargo ship. Inside it, 2,300 tons of picric acid, 200 tons of TNT, 35 tons of benzol, 10 tons of gun cotton. It was fully loaded, meaning this ship was a moving time bomb. The second ship was Imo, a Norwegian ship, empty. It was heading to Belgium to pick up relief supplies. At 8:45 in the morning, both ships were inside Halifax Harbor, moving close to each other. As they approached, they exchanged signals, but both misunderstood those signals, and then a massive collision happened. Mont Blanc caught fire, and what happened next was the most fatal mistake. The crew of Mont Blanc knew what was inside. They knew what was about to happen. So, they escaped. No one warned the people of Halifax. For 19 minutes, Mont Blanc kept burning on the harbor shore. People stood watching. They were saying, "Wow, what a huge fire." Office workers came outside to watch. Children climbed school windows to see it. Mothers stood by their windows at home. No one knew. They were watching a walk-in nuclear bomb. And then, Vincent Coleman was sitting at his telegraph machine. A naval sailor came running toward him. "Run! The ship has explosives! Everything will be destroyed!" Vincent stood up, ran outside, and then he stopped. He thought. Train number 10. It was coming from St. John, carrying 700 passengers, heading straight toward Halifax Harbor. If the train arrived, it would enter the blast zone directly. 700 lives. Vincent had only one chance, just 1 minute. He turned back, sat on his chair again, picked up the telegraph key, and typed, "Hold up the train. Ammunition ship afire in harbor making for Pier 6 and will explode. Guess this will be my last message. Goodbye, boys." The message was sent, line by line, station to station. It reached Truro, and then the train stopped, and then Mont Blanc exploded. What happened next had never happened before in human history. A mushroom cloud rose 3.6 kilometers into the sky. The blast wave was felt 300 kilometers away. Pieces of Mont Blanc fell 20 kilometers away. The ship's anchor was found 4 kilometers away. On the Richter scale, it registered as a 4.0 earthquake. Halifax's north end, 2 square kilometers, in just 1 second, was destroyed completely. 1,782 people died. Over 9,000 people were left wounded. Those standing near windows were hit by shattered glass from the blast. 200 people went blind in a single second. Vincent Coleman's body was found days later in the debris of the Richmond rail yards. Near him, there were only 2 things: his watch and his telegraph key. The very next day after the explosion, a massive snowstorm hit Halifax. Rescue operations stopped. People remained trapped under debris, alive, but could not be saved. But the world heard about it. A special train came from Boston with doctors and supplies. On the way, they received Vincent's message, the same message that had saved 700 lives. The train reached Halifax directly. Robert Oppenheimer, who later created the atomic bomb, studied the Halifax explosion in his research. Even today, every year, Boston sends a Christmas tree to Halifax in memory of the help given more than 100 years ago. Vincent Coleman's wife, Frances, lived until 1970. 53 years without her husband. She only had 2 things: Vincent's watch and his telegraph key. Once, their granddaughter said he was an ordinary man, a family man, and he just went to work that day, never assuming anything special was going to happen. He was not a superhero, not a soldier, not a politician. He was an ordinary man who made a decision in 1 second and gave life to 700 people. History is full of such stories and that no one tells. Today, you heard one. If this video gave you something, one like, 1 share, means a lot. And comment which untold history story you want to hear next.